My E key is working again. Have I told you about my E key?
No.
You know, I rely heavily on my M1 MacBook Pro. That's what I got. Yeah, 16-inch MacBook Pro 2021, 16 gigs of RAM. Pretty nice computer. You know, do you have an M1 chip or an M2?
Yeah, I might have the same. Oh, I have the M1 Pro.
That's exactly what I have. Yep. And you find that like on your old computers, like the ones from like 2018, when you would like render video, the fans would like boot up really aggressively and you couldn't like multitask at all. And on this thing, it's just like a breeze. It just like flies through a render.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's whatever black magic is in those M1 chips or the M chips. Jason Graves called it like Macs are like a cheat code for like video production, and
yeah,
it's kind of true.
So get this, my last 3 computers, I think they were like, one was an Air, the next one was a MacBook Pro, but prior to the M series of processors, and now this one. So like 8 years of computers, let's call it. After 2 years of usage on each of those 3 different models, the E key falls off and stops being responsive. After about 2 years.
Is it because you're writing EJ is awesome a lot? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly. I have a lot of like EJ spirit. I have little hands, you know, little carny hands. They do move fast. I am a quick typist. I don't think you can be a fast typist if you're striking the keys really hard because the force would slow you down. So rather than using the word aggressive, maybe I would say decisive. It's a decisive strike of E. And it takes about 2 years before something happens. And the last 2 times when I brought it to the Apple store, they're like, oh yeah, this does happen to our keyboards all the time. And by the way, they can't just fix your fucking E key. They replace your whole keyboard. And
wow.
In this case, that was $800. Now this is a work computer, so it's all good. Like I got it back yesterday, and it you know, they cleaned the screen. It's kind of like I have a brand new computer. It feels pretty good. And while I'm on the topic of my technology, maybe I've established by now, I've got a little 9-inch CRT on my desk. I've got like a 27-inch at this kind of retro gaming station. That's where the Dreamcast, the N64, the SNES, the NES all are. But I kind of settled on the GameCube and the Genesis, which has an EverDrive, which plays Sega CD and Master System. That would stay on the desk computer, like the pick up and play games. And I really kind of found that Genesis is my go-to pick up and play system for all of these. So it was appropriate for the desk computer. Something like if something's rendering or if I'm like, you know, waiting for a meeting to start or something, I can just like pick up a quick Sonic or something. But I started to get kind of like, I wish I had a Sega over here at this 27-inch station. And I was like, does it make sense for me to maybe, you know, unplug the Sega and bring it over? And I'm like, you're never going to do that. You're never going to do that. The Sega's stuck right where it is.
I know. I think about that all the time. I'm like, do I need like a downstairs capture card and an upstairs capture card? Because I don't want to like move my things up and down. Like you get lazy like that. You want everything to be so.
That's right.
You want to tape all of your lights to the ceiling is what I'm saying.
No, it's so true. You know, I got really attached to this idea of having wireless, nice 8-bit-do controllers. They're kind of all in a big pile. Just grab one and you're playing. And it encourages a little bit more usage, I find, especially for if you have a busy schedule. We've talked before about the M30, the 8-bit-do M30 controller. I love this thing. It's a 6-button Genesis. There's something about this D-pad that is just so good. And it's a pretty inexpensive controller. I think it's like 35, 40 at the most. I had one of the, I was like, oh yeah, I'll dedicate one to the new. So I bought a new Sega, and I got the Genesis was, $35 on eBay, like pretty, if for just a replacement unit, and it was in really good shape. I was like, wow, $35 for a whole Genesis. Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'll get a new controller for basically the same price and dedicate it. And I've got a label maker, so you know, you got to have your labels on all your shit. For wireless controllers, you won't remember like which one's P1, which one's P2, right? This is fine for Genesis and for Sega CD. On my other M30 controller I have with the other Genesis, it uses Y, the middle of the top 3 buttons, as the OK. And it uses B as the back out. And when I go into Sega Master System games, it uses, I think, like C as the run button, because remember they don't have like a start on that system, or they don't have a pause or something. You had to use the second controller to pause. That's what it was. I was like, oh, that's weird, because now on the second M30 that I bought, A was select and B was back out. And then when I started trying to play a Master System game, nothing. Nothing on the exact same controller. So of course I did firmware updates. I made sure that it was on the same firmware as the other one. I start Googling it. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that wasn't tested with the Master System. 8BitDo themselves were like, oh, I don't know. We didn't do it with Master System, and we don't support EverDrives either. I'm like, oh, first of all, fuck you. You don't support EverDrives? Like what business are you in? But I actually contacted them. I was like, hey, I just bought a new one. It's the exact same controller. And I took the other one, the one that's working properly, and I switched it to the other Genesis, and it works. So there's something about this controller right here, which I love, but it won't play Master System games, which makes me feel sad. So I looked into it, and I contacted them, and they're like, I don't know. They're like, we'll take note. The two controllers were different, but they just wouldn't help me whatsoever. So the internet goes, you're going to need one of those Joyzz controllers. You have one?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's even better than the M30.
All right, well, that's interesting. So I got it in. Here it is. And I bought it on Amazon. I think if you buy from Krikkz and you wait 3 months from the Ukraine, it's like $64. I bought it from Amazon, and it was like $89 or something. It was like fucking expensive for a little Sega Genesis controller. And I don't know, man. I it's good. It's not. I don't like it as much as the 8BitDo personally. It's fine.
For me, I have a version of the 8BitDo, and it's slightly weird. Like one of the buttons will do double presses every once in a while. And I took it apart. I cleaned everything. I cleaned all the contacts. I did everything you're supposed to do, like the membranes, everything. And it still does like a double press every once in a while. But the Joyzz one, it's perfect. Everything's lovely.
Do you think the latency might be even better on the Joyzz one?
Yeah, or something. Something just feels a little more right and more natural and more just on that. So that's the one I use. And there was actually I had another problem with my 8BitDo one where there was a cold solder joint on the receiver. So one of the inputs didn't work right. So I actually opened I opened it up and I soldered it myself because I'm not gonna send it to 8BitDo. So there was a couple weird things with mine, and I bet if I bought another one, it would be because I think there is some variation on the build quality with these ones.
Yeah. And
I think if I bought another one, it would probably be perfect. But I just was like, I'll try Joyzz, and I love it. So now I have two wireless controllers. One is going to be that's my second player controller.
Yeah.
You know how you'd get a Mad Catz for your friends.
Yeah.
The company I immediately think of when I hear the term third-party controller is Mad Catz. If you walk into a building constructed by Mad Catz, get the f*** out of there.
This one, the charging port, I guess it's micro USB. It's a little bit the plastic casing is covering it a little bit. I have to jam in the thing.
Oh.
I freaked out for a moment. So I spent $89 on this stupid fucking thing. Just to duplicate my Genesis experience, so I'm starting to go a little too far for not emulating. I've talked shit about people that that don't just emulate, and now here I am.
Well, I have my RGB Pi hooked up behind me, and it's just emulating shit now. So
that's that stupid meme construction that everybody uses to point out hypocrisy. Like, Frankie, why don't you just emulate? Also, Frankie, I just spent $89 on an Amazon controller.
It's kind of funny because some games don't work with a 6-button controller, so you have to switch the mode.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I played Miss Pac-Man, and Miss Pac-Man just doesn't work with a 6-button controller. You have to switch the mode.
I was playing Mortal Kombat 2 on Genesis, that version. I've been mostly playing the arcade version in recent years. And I was like, wow, this game is unplayably difficult. You may have heard me say that a few times about MK2. Or I'm like, I don't know about MK2. Well, I hadn't played the Genesis one in a long time. The Genesis one is fine. Totally manageable. You can get through it. When I was a kid, I always played it with a 3-button controller. I never owned a 6-button controller. And I was switching between
luxury.
Yeah, I was switching between the two modes, and I was like, oh, the 6-button is fantastic. It actually does make it basically the arcade config, right? The other great thing about an EverDrive is that for games that don't have a pause, like Mortal Kombat does not have a pause, or at least I don't think Mortal Kombat 2 does. Maybe one of them does, one of them doesn't. I don't know. It's one of those games I definitely am unable to pause.
Yeah, you gotta put the all the old man things that you need to get through the game. I use save states all the time on that thing, because you can't get through Contra or whatever without it.
Yeah, I just did that with what was it? Flintstones was it like Trouble at Dinosaur Peak or something for the NES. I saw Matei playing it, and
Oh yeah.
and I was like, this game actually looks kind of sweet. I like a good cartoony platformer as much as he does, and he gets shit for it, and I get shit for it. So I wanted to jump into the lava with him, and I played through it with save states, and it was, you know what, it was a pretty goddamn good game. I was like, this is kind of right there with like a Tiny Toons or a Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Like I think this is not that much worse or better than those. But in his Let's Play, Matei's Let's Play, there's a Mega Man-esque sequence in that game where there's a lava giant boulder that's chasing you, and you have to go through a bunch of platforming obstacles to escape it, and you have to be kind of precise to get away from it, but not like Mega Man precise, where the lasers in Mega Man 2. Not that fucking ridiculous. There's a section of it where you have to get pretty far ahead of the boulder. Then there's like a couple of breakable rocks that are below you as the floor, and Fred has a club, and he can club the rocks open, and then you can drop through the rocks, and then you can continue on and escape the boulder. But below, if you broke the one that was flush with some spikes that are on the wall, when you fall, you will get damaged by the spikes because you're flush right up against the wall where the spikes are. And it took me once or twice to realize, because he'd fall and then he'd get damaged, and you're like, oh, what gave me damage? And they're like, oh, I guess it was the spikes. So you're supposed to actually break the part of the floor that's away from the spikes, so that when you fall, you don't fall flush with the spikes. I watched Matei. You might think, like, why are you how many hours did you watch Matei for? I was like, no. I was listening to a podcast and I was watching Matei on mute, and that's actually a wonderful experience.
Wow, you're interesting.
Yeah. Sensory overload. I think it must have been something like 25 times, EJ, that he just wasn't figuring out that it was the spikes giving him damage. I think early on he convinced himself that it was falling damage when the rest of the game has no falling damage. And every time he's like, oh, fuck. Oh, you got to do that part perfect because you have to take damage and then you can get through. I'm like, no, you don't have to take damage. Well, I mean, I get not getting it the first few times. This went on.
Yabba dabba doo! Oh! Go! On the other side. Drop through it! And then he has to bounce like 15 times. Dude, no! Okay, I'm not. I think I just made it with good timing anyway. Don't be all the way. It's such bullcrap thing. No. God! You can make the whole thing. Jeez, that stinks so much. You have to be like absolutely perfect. Yeah, what? Dude, and the controls on that stink! You have to be absolutely flawless. At least I got this part down.
Anyone else think screaming is really good content, but like unironically?
Kind of do a quick shill when we're talking about streaming is that
Yes.
I've been streaming on Twitch, and I've been streaming every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I've been calling it Sunday Night Blues because I stay up way too late before I start with my work week. And I've been playing through the whole Zelda series. So right now I'm on Link's Awakening, the Switch version. So I'll be finishing that up soon. We'll see if I do the CDI. I don't know if I'm going to do the CDI games, but I'm going to go through the rest of the Zelda series. I don't know why Zelda. I just felt it was fun because I randomly streamed Ocarina of Time, and then people started talking about, hey, why don't you just do the rest of them? And I said, I will do the rest of them.
You're going to do like Wind Waker and Minish Cap and the whole thing?
Yeah, I haven't even beat Minish Cap, so that'll be fun. I could do that too. So yeah, go to EJ Massa on Twitch is my handle. I upload all of the replays on YouTube. So EJ streams on YouTube. Check it out. It's fun. And like the chat is really, really fun. Like, you know, I pretty much interact with every single chat right now because I'm so small. I can do that, but it's lively enough that it's interesting. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, everybody should at least. I mean, if you got nothing to do at 8 p.m. on a Sunday and you want to hang out with EJ while he plays some Zelda, I don't know why you wouldn't go over to Twitch. So yeah, EJ Massa on Twitch. He makes nice thumbnails for the YouTube channel.
I like it because I'm not even promising that this is going to be content. I'm like I'm not like Matei where I might be gathering footage for Bimmy. No, I'm just making this for me. I'm just playing it for me and having fun with the audience. So it's actually kind of been relaxing and interesting in that way.
What inspired it? Was it because you had the CRT and the capture card, and you were like, I'd like to carve out some video game time for myself anyway? It was that kind of the idea?
Yeah. Well, I like streaming, but I just did it so infrequently. So I was just like, oh, what if I just do it every Sunday at a time? And turns out when you have a schedule and you don't just stream once every 6 months, people show up and they have fun. So
that's good. That's great. And are you playing on the original consoles, or are you doing the Retro Pi, or what are you doing?
It's a mix of things, especially for the Zelda series. So I played Zelda 1 and 2 and A Link to the Past on my original childhood carts. Then I actually did the BS Zelda, which for some reason doesn't work on my EverDrive, so I played it on my Retro Pi, but on the CRT.
That's that like SNES.
Then,
that's like Zelda All-Stars for SNES that was on the Satellaview, right?
Yeah, it was on the Satellaview version. Somebody made a ROM hack that kind of stitches all the segments that they used to like I guess every day or every week, like Japan would send your Super Nintendo some Zelda. It was weird. It's so weird. And I was saying on the stream, it's like they're leaving money on the table, not porting this to like Switch Online.
You're gonna leave it to nerds to stitch this shit together, really?
Then Link's Awakening, people wanted to, like, I did a poll and people wanted to see the Switch version, so I'm doing the Switch version, which I could do on a CRT, but I think it would be too much work, so I just,
Yeah, fair enough.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.